The sky over New Jeju turned red as the alien ships descended. Captain Doyen Kim stood on the observation deck of the colony's defense station and watched the massive vessels break through the clouds. They were larger than anything he had ever seen. Each ship was the size of a city block, their hulls covered in strange patterns that glowed with purple light. "Sir, they're charging weapons," said Private Yuna Song from her console. Her fingers moved fast across the holographic display, trying to make sense of the alien technology. She was the youngest member of the team, barely 23 years old, but she was the best tech specialist in the Korean Defense Force. Doyen pressed the emergency alarm. Red lights flashed throughout the station. "Get everyone to the evacuation shuttles now." The first blast hit the shield generators on the northern side of the colony. The explosion shook the entire building. Doyen grabbed the edge of a table to keep his balance. Through the window, he could see the shield dome flicker and fail. Pieces of burning metal fell from the sky like rain. "Communications are down," Yuna reported. Her voice was steady, but Doyen could see her hands shaking. They took out the main array with that first shot. Sergeant Jiwon Park ran into the room, medical kit already strapped to her back. She was a combat medic with 10 years of experience. Her black hair was tied back tight and her eyes were sharp and focused. "Civilian shuttles are launching from the south port. They need 5 more minutes to clear the atmosphere." "We'll give them 10, Doyen said. He turned to his team. There were only 5 of them in the station now. The rest of the defense force was scattered across the colony, helping with the evacuation. "Gear up. We hold this position until every civilian is off-world." Corporal Hyun Lee was already checking his equipment. He was the demolitions expert, a quiet man who smiled often but rarely spoke. His bag was full of explosives and detonators. He gave Doyen a thumbs up. Private Minho Choi stood by the window with his sniper rifle. He was tall and thin, with hands so steady they barely seemed real. "I count 12 landing craft," he said calmly. "Troop carriers. They're setting down in the valley." Doyen pulled up the tactical map on his wrist computer. The alien ships were forming a perimeter around the colony. They were planning a ground assault. That was good news in a way. It meant they wanted the colony intact. It meant his team had a chance to slow them down. "They think this will be easy," Doyen said. He checked his rifle and made sure his spare magazines were secure. "Let's show them they're wrong." The team moved down to the ground level. Outside, the air smelled like burning plastic and ozone. Smoke rose from the destroyed shield generators. In the distance, they could hear the screams of civilians rushing to the evacuation points. "Position along the eastern ridge," Doyen ordered. "Minho, find high ground. Hyun, I want charges on every approach route. Ji-won, set up a medical station in the maintenance building. Yuna, stay with me. I need you to tap into their communications if you can." The team split up without a word. They had trained together for 3 years. They knew how to work as one unit. Doyen and Yuna moved to a bunker that overlooked the main road into the colony. Through his binoculars, Doyen watched the alien soldiers pour out of their landing craft. They were tall, almost 7 feet, with gray skin and 4 arms. Each one carried a weapon that crackled with blue energy. "Vrin Empire," Yuna said, reading from her scanner. "According to the database, they're a militaristic species. They've conquered 17 star systems in the last 50 years. 18 now," Doyen muttered. From his command ship high above the planet, Commander Tholra watched his troops advance. He was pleased with the operation so far. The human shields had fallen quickly. Their communications were destroyed. The victory would be complete within hours. "These humans are a young species," he said to his second officer. "They have only been in space for 200 years. They have no experience with real warfare." "Yes, Commander," the officer replied. "Our troops report minimal resistance. The colonists are fleeing." Tholra zoomed in on his display screen. He could see a small group of human soldiers taking positions on a ridge. Only 5 of them. He almost felt sorry for them. They did not know they were already dead. "Send the first wave," he ordered. 100 troops. That should be more than enough. On the ground, Doyen watched the aliens march up the road in neat formations. They moved with confidence, their weapons held high. They were not even taking cover. "Arrogant," Jiwon said over the radio. She was watching from her position 200 meters away. "Good," Doyen replied. "Let them get close. Wait for my signal." The alien troops reached the first checkpoint. There were so many of them, their footsteps made the ground shake. Doyen counted silently in his head. 50 meters, 40 meters, 30 meters. "Now," he said quietly, Minho fired first. His rifle made almost no sound, but an alien soldier's head exploded in purple blood. Before the others could react, Minho fired again. And again. 3 shots. 3 kills. Each bullet placed perfectly. Then Hyun's charges detonated. The road erupted in fire and smoke. Aliens were thrown into the air like toys. The ones at the back of the formation turned to run, but more explosions blocked their escape routes. Doyen opened fire with his rifle. Yuna did the same. Ji-won joined in from her position. The aliens tried to organize, tried to return fire, but they were trapped in a killing zone. Every angle was covered. Every escape route was blocked. In less than 2 minutes, it was over. 100 alien soldiers lay dead on the road. Not a single human had been hit. On his command ship, Tholra stared at his screen in shock. The entire wave was gone, completely wiped out. By 5 soldiers, 5. What happened? He demanded. His tactical officer was pale. Commander, they used the terrain against us. They waited until our troops were vulnerable. They knew exactly where to hit. Tholra felt something unfamiliar, uncertainty. He pushed it away. It was luck. Primitive luck. Send 3 more waves. Crush them. But as he watched the humans move to new positions, smooth and efficient like they had done this 1,000 times before, Tholra began to wonder, what kind of species learned to fight like this? What kind of evolution created soldiers this effective? He would learn the answer soon. And it would terrify him. Commander Tholra sent 3 battalions down to the surface, 300 of his best soldiers. He watched from his command ship as they spread out across the valley, using proper tactics this time. Cover positions, overlapping fields of fire, drone support. These humans would not get lucky again. Advance slowly, he ordered through the communication system. These primitives got lucky with an ambush. Do not give them another chance. On the ground, Doyen and his team had relocated to the industrial district of the colony. The area was full of warehouses and machinery, perfect for what they needed to do. How long until the last shuttle launches? Doyen asked over the radio. 20 minutes, Yuna replied. She was inside a control room, her hands dancing across 3 different keyboards at once. But sir, I'm picking up a lot of movement. They're sending everything they have. Let them come. Doyen checked his ammunition. He was running low already. They all were. But 20 minutes was not a long time. They could hold for 20 minutes. They had to. Hyun had been busy while they moved. The entire industrial district was now one giant trap. Explosive charges hidden in doorways. Fuel tanks rigged to blow. Manufacturing equipment turned into deadly mechanisms. He stood on a catwalk, above the main factory floor, a remote detonator in each hand, and smiled. Ji-won set up her medical station in a reinforced storage room. She had already treated 2 civilians who were too scared to run. Now she cleaned her rifle and waited. She had been a medic for 10 years, but she had been a soldier for 15. Sometimes people forgot that. Minho climbed to the top of a water tower. From there, he could see the entire district. He could see the alien soldiers moving in. So many of them. He checked his scope and steadied his breathing. His hands did not shake. They never did. The first alien soldiers entered the industrial district carefully. They checked corners. They scanned for traps. They were professional warriors who had fought on a dozen worlds. Minho shot the lead soldier through the eye from 800 meters away. Before the body hit the ground, he had already moved his aim to the next target. Another shot. Another kill. The alien scattered, looking for cover. That was when Hyun pressed his first detonator. The factory to the aliens' left exploded. Not just a small blast, but a massive eruption of fire and metal. The building collapsed sideways, falling directly on top of 50 alien soldiers. The ones who survived ran right into Hyun's second trap. Fuel tanks ignited, turning an entire street into an inferno. By the gods, one alien officer said into his radio. They turned the entire district into a weapon. Doyen moved through the chaos like a ghost. He knew this colony. He had trained here. Every street, every building, every hiding spot. He appeared behind enemy lines, killed 3 soldiers before they knew he was there, then vanished into the smoke. Yuna was fighting her own battle in the digital space. She had hacked into one of the alien combat drones. It was not easy. The technology was advanced, but she was better. The drone turned on its masters, firing plasma blasts into the alien formation. When they finally destroyed it, she had already taken control of 2 more. "These humans," an alien soldier screamed into his radio. "They're everywhere and nowhere. How many of them are there?" 5, his commander replied, checking his scanner. "There are only 5. The soldier laughed. It was not a happy sound. Impossible. 5 soldiers could not do this. But it was true. 5 humans were tearing apart 300 alien warriors. Jiwan heard wounded aliens calling for help outside her medical station. Her first instinct was to help them. She was a medic. That was what she did. But these were enemy soldiers. They had come to take her home. One alien soldier crawled through the door, bleeding purple blood. He looked at her with wide eyes. He was afraid. Dying. Jiwan felt something break inside her chest. She treated his wounds. The alien stared at her in confusion. "Why?" he asked in broken human language. "Why help enemy?" "Because I'm a medic," Jiwan said simply. She bandaged his arm where a piece of shrapnel had torn through. "And you're wounded." The alien soldier did not understand. His people did not show mercy in battle. When he was stable, Jiwan tied his hands and put him in the storage room. Then she went back to the window and started shooting at his friends. War was complicated like that. On the command ship, Tholera watched his tactical display with growing horror. The 3 battalions were being destroyed, not just defeated, but absolutely torn apart. His officers were shouting reports at him. 3rd Battalion reporting 60% casualties. "We've lost contact with the drone squadron. 2nd Battalion is requesting immediate evacuation." Tholera pulled up the helmet camera footage from one of his soldiers. He needed to see what was happening down there. The image showed a human soldier, the tall, thin one with the rifle, standing on top of a building. He was surrounded by dead aliens. He should have been overwhelmed, but he was smiling, actually smiling. He fired his rifle, killed 2 more soldiers, then jumped off the building and disappeared. "What manner of creature smiles in battle?" Tholera whispered. He switched to another camera. This one showed the human female who had treated the wounded alien. She was carrying an injured human civilian on her back while firing her weapon one-handed. She got hit by plasma fire in the shoulder. The impact should have dropped her, but she just shifted the civilian to her other shoulder and kept running, kept shooting, kept moving. The wound did not even slow her down. Another camera showed the demolitions expert. He was laughing. Actually laughing as explosions went off all around him. He was having fun. Tholera felt something cold move down his spine. What kind of species enjoyed this? "Commander," his tactical officer said. His voice was shaking. "We need to pull back. We're losing too many soldiers." "No," Tholera said, but he did not sound certain anymore. "Send in the Fangs, my personal guard, elite warriors. They will end this." His second officer looked at him. "Commander, are 5 humans really worth sending the Fangs?" Tholera looked at the casualty reports. Nearly 200 soldiers dead or wounded in less than an hour, against 5 humans. "Yes," he said quietly. "They are worth it." But before he could give the order, something happened that changed everything. One of his ground commanders opened a private channel. The commander's voice was weak, full of pain. "Commander Tholera, this is Ground Commander Vex. I am dying. Before I go, I must tell you something." "Speak," Tholera said. "These humans, they are not soldiers, not like us. We train for battle. We prepare for war. But they were born for it. I shot one of them 3 times. He did not stop. He killed 6 of my warriors with a piece of broken metal because his weapon was empty. As he died, he was still fighting." The commander coughed. The sound was wet and painful. "Commander, listen to me. These things you sent us to fight, they are not soldiers. They are monsters. Beautiful, terrible monsters. If you are wise, you will leave this planet. Because there are more of them coming. I can hear them on the radio, and they sound angry. The transmission ended. Tholra sat in his command chair, frozen. He pulled up the human military database they had captured. He started reading. Human history, human wars, the things humans had done to each other for thousands of years. His hands began to shake. By all the gods, he whispered. What have we awakened? Tholra could not stop reading. The human database was full of horrors. Not horrors that humans had suffered, but horrors they had inflicted on each other. Wars that lasted years, battles that killed millions, weapons designed for nothing but destruction. He read about something called World War I. Humans had sat in muddy holes in the ground for 4 years, shooting at each other. Millions died, and then they did it again 20 years later. World War II was even worse. Humans had built bombs that could destroy entire cities, and they used them. On each other. They fight like this against their own kind, Tholra said to his empty command room. What will they do to us? He kept reading. Korea, Vietnam, Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria. Humans had been fighting continuously for their entire recorded history. They had turned warfare into an art form. Every generation learned from the last. Every war made them better at killing. The Vryn Empire had conquered 17 worlds. But the Vryn had only been fighting for 200 years. Humans had been fighting for 10,000. Commander, his tactical officer interrupted. The Fangs have landed. They are moving toward the human position. Tholra looked at the display. His elite guard, 50 of the best warriors the Vryn Empire had ever produced, were entering the colony's ruins. Each one was worth 10 normal soldiers. They wore powered armor. They carried the most advanced weapons. They had never lost a battle. Good, Tholra said, but he felt no confidence. He had felt confident before. That confidence had cost him 200 soldiers. On the ground, Doyen watched the new alien soldiers through his binoculars. These were different. They moved better. Their armor was heavier. They did not make the same mistakes as the others. Elite troops, he said over the radio. Everyone be sharp. These ones will be harder. How much harder can they be? Hyun asked. He sounded tired now. They all were. They had been fighting for 3 days with almost no sleep. Adrenaline could only do so much. Hard enough, Doyen replied. He checked his ammunition again. Almost empty. They all were running low on everything. Food, water, bullets. Yuna, status on reinforcements? Lieutenant Seung is 2 hours out, Yuna said. Her voice was rough. She had been crying earlier when she thought no one could hear. 2 of the civilians she tried to save had died in the bombardment. She blamed herself. He's bringing 50 soldiers. 2 hours, Doyen repeated. They had to hold for 2 more hours. Against fresh elite troops, while exhausted and low on supplies. We can do that, can we? Jiwon asked. She was bandaging her own shoulder where the plasma had burned her. Her medical supplies were almost gone. She had given most of them to wounded civilians. Doyen, we're running on empty here. I know, Doyen said. But those civilians made it. Every single one. Because we held the line. We just need to hold it a little longer. Minho spoke from his sniper position. His voice was calm as always, but there was an edge to it now. Contact. The elite soldiers are entering the district. Moving in pairs. Using proper cover. They've learned? Of course they have, Doyen said. We taught them. Now let's teach them something else. The Fangs advanced through the ruins carefully. They had watched the helmet camera footage. They knew what had happened to the other troops. They would not make the same mistakes. Their commander, a veteran named Koral, spoke to his warriors. These humans are dangerous, but they are only 5. We are 50. We have better armor, better weapons, and we are Fangs. Remember your training. Remember your honor. The Fangs spread out, moving from cover to cover. They scanned every window, every doorway, every shadow. They were ready for anything. Minho shot the first one through a gap in his helmet. The elite armor did not cover everything. The alien dropped like a stone. The others immediately took cover and started returning fire. They were fast, professional, but Minho was already gone, moving to a new position. Hyun's traps were different this time. The elites detected the first few and disabled them. But Hyun had expected that. The real traps were hidden behind the fake ones. When the elites thought they were safe, the floor collapsed beneath them, dropping them into a pit full of industrial machinery that Hyun had turned into giant blades. The screams were terrible. Even Hyun, who usually enjoyed his work, looked sick. Yuna tried to hack the elite combat drones, but these were better protected. She got into one, maybe two, before their security systems locked her out. It was not enough. The elites were adapting to human tactics. Doyun realized they were in trouble. The elites were too good. His team was too tired. They needed to change the game. Everyone fall back to the central plaza, he ordered. We make our stand there. The plaza? Ji-won said. Doyun, that's completely open. No cover. I know, Doyun said. Trust me, the team fell back, fighting all the way. The elites pressed forward, smelling victory. They had the humans trapped now. Out in the open. Nowhere to hide. Koral smiled inside his helmet. We have them. All units converge on the plaza. And this, the Fangs surrounded the plaza. 50 elite warriors against 5 exhausted humans. The humans stood in the center of the open space, weapons ready but clearly at the end of their strength. Surrender, Koral called out in human language. You fought well, but it is over. Doyun looked at his team. Ji-won was bleeding from 3 wounds. Hyun was limping on a broken leg he had not mentioned. Yuna's hands were burned from overheating equipment. Minho's face was gray with exhaustion. They had been fighting for 72 hours straight. You know what? Doyun said to them quietly. I'm proud of every single one of you. Same, Ji-won said. She checked her rifle. 3 bullets left. It's been an honor, Hyun added. He pulled out 2 grenades. His last ones. We held the line, Yuna said. Tears ran down her face, but she was smiling. They're all safe. Minho said nothing. He just raised his rifle. Koral saw all this through his scope. He saw humans at the end, surrounded, outnumbered, out of ammunition, but not defeated. Never defeated. They were going to fight until the very last moment. What manner of species fights like this? He whispered, echoing his commander's words. Charge, Doyun screamed, and incredibly, impossibly, the 5 humans ran forward, toward 50 elite alien warriors, toward certain death. They were laughing, actually laughing. Hyun threw his grenades. Ji-won fired her last 3 bullets. Minho shot until his rifle clicked empty, then pulled out a knife. Yuna charged with nothing but a piece of broken pipe, and Doyun led them all, his eyes burning with something that was not quite human. The elites opened fire. They had to. The humans were terrifying. Even wounded, even exhausted, even at the moment of death, they were terrifying. But then the sky lit up with new fire. Dropships screamed overhead, human dropships, and soldiers poured out. 50 became 100. The reinforcements had arrived early. Lieutenant Sung Ryu hit the ground running, his rifle already firing. He saw the 5 soldiers in the plaza, saw them charging against impossible odds, and his heart broke with pride. For New Jeju, he roared. The fresh human soldiers crashed into the alien elites like a hammer. The battle turned into chaos. Hand-to-hand, brutal, savage. Tholra watched from his ship and finally understood. These humans did not know when to quit. They did not know when to accept defeat. They would fight until they won or until they died. There was no third option, and there were billions of them. Billions of creatures who fought like this. Recall all troops, Tholra said quietly. We are leaving. Commander? His officer said, shocked. We still have forces on the ground. They are already dead, Tholra replied. We all are if we stay here. Humans do not surrender. They do not retreat. They just keep coming. How do you fight an enemy like that? The Vrin ships began to pull away from the planet. On the ground, the elite Fangs realized they were being abandoned. Some tried to run. Most died fighting. Humans did not take prisoners from those who tried to destroy their home. In the plaza, Doyun collapsed. His team gathered around him. They had done it. Against everything, they had held the line. Shung knelt beside his brother. They had not seen each other in 5 years. Not since Seung was reported killed in another battle. But here he was alive. Took you long enough, Doyun said weakly. Traffic was bad, Seung replied. He was crying and smiling at the same time. You idiot. You beautiful idiot. The team was evacuated to a medical ship. As they were carried away, other soldiers lined up and saluted. These 5 had held against an army. They were legends now. The Vrin fleet hung in orbit around New Jeju. Commander Tholra had ordered a retreat, but the High Command had overruled him. They did not understand. They had not seen what he had seen. They had not watched 5 humans destroy an army. You will complete the mission. High Admiral Vorn said through the communication screen. His 3 eyes showed no mercy. The humans are weak. Your failure is from poor leadership, not enemy strength. High Admiral, you do not understand what we face here, Thalra said. He was careful to keep his voice respectful, but inside he was screaming. These humans are unlike any species we have encountered. They are primitives with basic technology, Vorn replied. You have lost 2 days to 5 soldiers. This is unacceptable. I am sending you one final order. Orbital bombardment. Destroy the colony completely. If you cannot take it, no one will have it. Thalra felt his blood turn cold. Orbital bombardment meant death for everyone on the surface, soldier and civilian alike. It went against every rule of honorable warfare. But the High Command had spoken. When? Thalra asked quietly. In 6 hours. Use that time to evacuate any of our surviving troops, then turn that colony into dust. The screen went dark. Thalra sat in his command chair for a long moment. He thought about the human medic who had treated a wounded enemy soldier. He thought about the demolitions expert who had laughed even in the face of death. He thought about the sniper who never missed, the tech specialist who cried but kept fighting, the captain who led a charge against 50 elite warriors with 3 bullets left. Were these the actions of monsters, or were they the actions of people protecting their home? Sir, his tactical officer asked. Your orders? Thalra looked at the planet below. So beautiful, so full of life. And in 6 hours he would destroy it all, unless the humans did something insane first. In the medical bay of the human support ship, Doyen was arguing with the doctors. I'm fine, he insisted, even though his body said otherwise. Burns covered his arms. His ribs were cracked. He had not slept in 3 days. Captain Kim, you need rest, the doctor said firmly. She was an older woman with kind eyes and an iron will. Your body is at its limit. My body can wait, Doyen said. Show me the tactical situation. The doctor sighed but pulled up a holographic display. The Vryn fleet was still in orbit. They had pulled back their ground troops, but the ships remained, waiting. They're planning something, Shung said. He stood beside his brother's bed, cleaned up now but still wearing his combat gear. That many ships don't just sit there for no reason. Yuna limped into the room, her hands wrapped in bandages. She had refused to stay in her own bed. I've been monitoring their communications. They're using heavy encryption, but I've picked up some words. Bombardment, 6 hours. Complete destruction. Everyone went quiet. They're going to destroy the whole colony from orbit, Ji-won said. She stood by the door, one arm in a sling. Her shoulder was bandaged, but she could still fight if needed. Because we made them look weak on the ground. How many people are still down there? Doyen asked. Support personnel, engineers, some soldiers, Shung replied. Maybe 500 total. Most couldn't be evacuated in time. Doyen closed his eyes. 500 people, men and women who had stayed behind to help others escape. And now they would die because the aliens could not accept defeat. No, Doyen said. He opened his eyes. They burned with determination. We don't let that happen, Doyen, the doctor said gently. What can you do? They have ships, capital ships with weapons that can crack continents. Then we take their ships, Doyen said simply. Everyone stared at him. You want to board an alien warship? Shung asked slowly. The flagship of an alien fleet? While injured? With a team that can barely stand? Yes, Doyen said. He looked at his team. Ji-won, burned and bleeding but standing tall. Yuna, hands wrapped but fingers still nimble. Hyun, who had just walked in on a leg he should not be able to use. Minho, who followed silently behind, his eyes clear despite everything. You're all insane, the doctor said. But she was smiling a little. How? Yuna pulled out her tablet. Her burned fingers moved across the screen. I still have access to their drone network. I can fake a distress signal from one of their dropships. Make it look like survivors need pickup. They'll scan the ship, Shung pointed out. Let them, Yuna said. I'll make sure the life signs look Vryn. By the time they figure out we're human, we'll already be aboard. And then what? Ji-won asked. 6 of us against an entire ship's crew? We only need to reach the bridge, Doyen said. He pulled up schematics of Vryn ships that Yuna had stolen from their network. Take the commander hostage. Force him to call off the bombardment. That's the most insane plan I've ever heard, Sung said. He thought for a moment. I'm in. Me too, said Ji-won. Obviously, said Hyun. He was already checking his remaining equipment. Minho just nodded. He never needed to say much. I'll need 10 minutes to set up the fake signal, Yuna said. Her eyes were bright with fear and excitement. And I'm coming too. You'll need me to open their internal doors. The doctor shook her head. You're all going to die. Maybe, Doyen said. He stood up from the bed. His body screamed in pain, but he ignored it. But 500 people won't, that's worth it. 30 minutes later, a damaged Vryn dropship limped toward the flagship. It broadcast a distress signal. Life signs showed 3 wounded Vryn soldiers aboard. Should we investigate, Commander? The tactical officer asked Tholra. Tholra almost said no. Something felt wrong. But these were his soldiers. Possibly survivors from the ground battle. He could not abandon them. Bring them aboard, he ordered, but have security standing by. The dropship landed in the main hangar. The bay was huge, easily the size of a football field. Armed Vryn soldiers surrounded the ship. The doors opened. 6 humans stumbled out wearing stolen Vryn armor. The disguise lasted exactly 3 seconds before someone noticed. Humans, a guard shouted, but by then it was too late. Doyen threw a flashbang. In the confusion, the team scattered. They had studied the ship layout. They knew where to go. Minho took position at the hangar entrance. His rifle sang its deadly song. Any Vryn soldier who tried to enter the corridor fell dead. He was buying time. He knew he probably would not survive. He did not care. Yun placed his last charges on the hangar's main supports. If they failed, if they died, at least the flagship would be damaged. At least some good would come from this. Jiwan, Yuna, and Seong stayed with Doyen. They ran through the ship's corridors. Alarms blared. Vryn soldiers poured from every door. But the humans moved like water, flowing around obstacles, never stopping, always forward. Left here, Yuna gasped, reading her tablet while running. A plasma bolt seared past her head. She did not even flinch. They reached an elevator shaft. Sung shot the lock and they climbed. Up and up toward the bridge. Toward Commander Tholra. Vryn soldiers tried to stop them at every level. The humans left bodies in their wake. Jiwan had switched to a captured alien weapon when her rifle ran dry. Seong fought with a combination of military training and pure rage. Doyen was like a force of nature, unstoppable and terrifying. On the bridge, Tholra watched the security feeds. 6 humans, injured and exhausted, were cutting through his crew like they were nothing. They were heading straight for him. Seal the bridge, he ordered. All security teams converge on level 7. But even as he said it, he knew it would not be enough. These humans did not know when to quit. They did not understand the concept of impossible odds. They would reach the bridge. And then, Commander, his tactical officer said. His voice shook with fear. What are they? Tholra watched Doyen on the screen. The human captain was covered in burns, clearly in pain, running on pure willpower. But his eyes were clear, focused, determined. They are monsters, Tholra said quietly. Beautiful, terrible monsters. And they are coming for us. The bridge doors were made of reinforced metal 3 feet thick. They were designed to withstand a direct hit from a ship's weapon. They could hold back an army. Hyun looked at the doors and smiled. He pulled out a small device from his pack. It was his last shaped charge, the absolute last of his explosives. He had been saving it for something special. Everyone back up, he said cheerfully. The explosion was not large, but it was precise. The charge burned through the door's locking mechanism like it was paper. Smoke filled the corridor. When it cleared, the bridge doors stood open. Doyen was the first one through. His rifle was up, scanning for targets. The bridge was circular, with workstations arranged around a central command chair. 30 Vryn crew members stared at him in shock. In the command chair sat Tholra. Nobody moved, Doyen said. His voice was calm, but there was steel underneath. We're not here to kill you. We're here to talk. Tholra stood slowly. He was taller than Doyen, his forearms making him look even more imposing. But when Doyen met his eyes, the alien commander saw something that made him pause. Not fear, not hatred, just cold determination. You boarded my flagship, Tholra said in perfect human language. 6 of you. Against a crew of 3,000. That is insane. Yeah, we get that a lot, Seong said from behind Doyen. He kept his rifle pointed at the crew. Now here's what's going to happen. You're going to call off the orbital bombardment. And if I refuse? Doyen moved faster than anyone expected. He crossed the distance to Tholra in 3 steps and pressed his rifle against the commander's head. Then you die. And we blow this ship. And your fleet loses its commander. And maybe, Just maybe we save those 500 people before your fleet can reorganize. Thulra looked into Doyen's eyes. The human was serious, completely serious. He would die here, kill everyone here if it meant saving his people. You would sacrifice yourselves so easily? Thulra asked. For our people? Yes, Doyen said simply. Every time. That's what soldiers do. My soldiers fight for honor and glory, Thulra said. For the Empire. But they would not die so readily. Then they're not real soldiers, Jiwan said from her position by the door. Her medical kit was gone. Her arm was bleeding again, but her weapon was steady. They're just warriors. There's a difference. Thulra was quiet for a moment. Then he laughed. It was not a happy sound. Yes, I see that now. I have been trying to understand you humans since this battle began. I have read your history, your wars, the terrible things you do to each other. He gestured to a screen showing Earth. Your species has been fighting for 10,000 years. You have killed billions of your own kind. You have created weapons that can destroy your entire world, and yet you survive. You thrive. How? Because we learn, Yuna said. She was at one of the bridge terminals, her burned fingers flying across the alien controls. She was already inside their system. Every war teaches us something. Every battle makes us better. We don't fight because we love it. We fight because we have to. And we're very, very good at things we have to do. I understand now, Thulra said quietly. You are not monsters. You are survivors. And there is nothing more dangerous than a survivor who has learned to fight. Down in the hangar, Minho was still holding his position. He had been shot twice. His left arm hung useless. But his right hand still held his rifle and his aim was still perfect. Bodies piled up around him. Vryn soldiers had stopped trying to charge him directly. Now they just shot from cover. It did not matter. Minho could wait. He had been patient his whole life. He would be patient until the end. Bridge to hangar security. Minho heard over the Vryn communication system he had stolen from a dead soldier. Stand down. Ceasefire. The commander has ordered a ceasefire. The shooting stopped. Miho lowered his rifle slowly. He was still alive. Somehow, impossibly, he was still alive. On the bridge, Thulra had made his choice. I will call off the bombardment, he said. But you must understand the High Command will not accept this. They will send more ships, more soldiers. This war will continue. Let it continue, Doyen said. He lowered his rifle but did not put it away. We'll be ready. We're always ready. Thulra moved to his command console. He entered a series of commands. The bombardment is cancelled. All ships are to hold position and cease offensive operations. Thank you, Doyen said. Do not thank me, Thulra replied. I am not doing this out of mercy. I am doing this because I have seen what happens when you corner humans. When you threaten their homes, you become demons, and I will not send more of my people to die against demons. He turned to face Doyen fully. I will tell the High Command the truth, that humans are not primitives, that you are a warrior species unlike any we have encountered, that you do not know how to surrender, that you will fight with sticks and stones if you run out of bullets, that you laugh at death and charge into impossible odds, and that invading your worlds will cost more than any victory is worth. They won't listen, Shung said. Perhaps not, Thulra agreed, but I will try. Because I have learned something today. I have learned that there are species in this galaxy that should not be fought. Species that should be respected. And humans are one of them. He looked at each of the 6 humans, all wounded, all exhausted, all still ready to fight. You held a colony against an army with 5 soldiers. Then you boarded my flagship with 6. You did the impossible twice. 3 times, Hyun corrected. Don't forget we survived. Despite everything, Thulra smiled. Yes, 3 times. You humans and your stubborn refusal to die. It is admirable and terrifying in equal measure. Yuna finished at the terminal. I've transmitted all your invasion plans to Earth Command, and I've copied your entire database on Vryn military tactics. Fair trade, I think. Thulra sighed but nodded. Of course you did, very well. You may use my personal shuttle to return to your ship. I will not stop you, just like that? Jiwan asked suspiciously. You're letting us go? What choice do I have? Thulra asked. If I try to keep you here, you will fight. More of my crew will die, and you might even win. No, you have earned your freedom today. Take it and go. Doyen studied the alien commander. He saw genuine respect there. And something else. Fear, yes, but also curiosity. Thulra wanted to understand humans. Maybe that was a good thing. Maybe it would prevent more wars. One question before we go, Doyen said. Why did you invade us? Because we thought you were weak, Thulra answered honestly. Because you are young and new to space. Because we have conquered 17 other worlds and it was always easy. He paused. We were wrong. About everything. You are not weak. You are simply patient, waiting, learning. And now we have awoken something we cannot control. The 6 humans left the bridge. They walked through corridors full of Vryn soldiers who stared at them with wide eyes. The humans had become legends. The 6 who boarded a flagship. The monsters who would not die. In the shuttle on the way back, Seung looked at his brother. We're actually alive. I can't believe we're actually alive. We're soldiers, Doyen said. He was smiling, the first real smile in days. Staying alive is what we do. And if they come back? Yuna asked. If the Vryn return with more ships? Then we'll fight them again, Ji-won said. She was already treating her own wounds, preparing for the next battle. Because there was always a next battle. And we'll win again. Because we're monsters, Hyun said cheerfully. No, Minho spoke up for the first time in hours. Everyone turned to look at him. We're not monsters. We're humans, and that's enough. They landed back at the human support ship. Medical teams rushed to help them. Other soldiers saluted. They had done the impossible. 6 wounded soldiers had stopped an orbital bombardment and saved 500 lives. The news spread across human space within hours. The story of New Jeju. The story of 5 soldiers who held a colony, then 6 who boarded a flagship. It became a legend, a reminder of what humans could do when pushed to the edge. And in his ship above the planet, Thulra watched the humans celebrate. He began writing his report to the High Command. It was a long report, full of warnings, full of advice that would probably be ignored. But he wrote it anyway, because maybe, just maybe, he could prevent another war, another disaster. Another encounter with these beautiful, terrible humans who fought like demons but treated wounded enemies with kindness. He finished his report with a single line. Never corner them. Never threaten their home. Never assume their mercy means weakness. Because when you do, you will discover what monsters they can become, and by then it will be too late. The Vryn fleet left New Jeju that same day. They would not return, not because they were defeated, but because they were wise enough to know when they had met their match. On New Jeju, in a hospital room, Doyen and his team slept. For the first time in days they rested. They had earned it. They had held the line. They had saved their people. And if another threat came tomorrow, they would be ready, because they were soldiers, because they were human. And humans never gave up, never surrendered, never stopped fighting for what they loved. That was not being a monster. That was being human. And it was enough.